Thomas Brown says Caleb Williams' confidence is not shaken. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then Chase Daniel goes completely nuclear in a relatively calm way against the Chicago Bears. Also, Brad Biggs has some details that says that the Bears, the outlook of the Bears front office should not limit them in their head coaching search. Plus, is Kliff Kingsbury moving into the pole position for the Chicago Bears head coaching job? The head coaching thing just keeps going and going. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. I want to start off with this. Thomas Brown talked about, how frustrated Caleb Williams is, but he said that Caleb Williams' confidence is not really shaken. He says this: I think mentally he's in a good spot. Of course, he's frustrated like we all are from the standpoint of not getting the result, but confidence isn't shaking. Kind of limited some of those pressures last night, but he did have some pressures, only two sacks. We've got to continue to find ways to find answers to get the ball out of his hands faster and shore up the protection. Now, I know a lot of Bears fans. I know they're already typing, the ones that are on the YouTube side, and there's some that are already shaking their head. But Hayes, but Thomas, Caleb Williams causes so many of the sacks, and when you look at the percentage of it, it's actually not that big. But let's not act like Caleb Williams in his decision making has not caused a big portion of the sacks that he's had this season. He's absolutely contributed to it, but you still need better protection. I think it's not this either or thing that some people try to make it out to be, that, oh, you either blame Caleb for everything or it's just the offensive line. No, the fact of the matter is two things can be true at the same time. Caleb has to improve, right? And I hated that when it gets to this place where it's like, well, if you're not just criticizing Caleb, then what are we doing? It's like, no, we know that Caleb has had accuracy issues. We've talked about it. Hell, Bobby talks about it all the time, right? We talk about the fact that he does need to be more accurate, that he has missed opportunities, but that doesn't take away from the fact that also some of the wide receivers have problems getting open sometimes. The protection has lacked at times. And overall, like, the Bears offense for the most part, it's a struggle from top to bottom. And that's why, when you hear Bears fans talk about getting an offensive-minded head coach, that's why. I mean, you also hear some Bears fans say things like, well, wasn't Nagy an offensive-minded head coach? Didn't we have an offensive-minded head coach before? Why get another one? It's like, it's not about that. It's about getting the right one, at least in my opinion. But, at the end of the day, it's so many things that you can point towards being wrong. And that's the overall problem here right now, right? Is that what Ryan Poles and trying to build this team and rebrand this team, what he was supposed to do is eliminate questions, right? Get into a point to where, that when Caleb Williams comes in, we can see exactly what Caleb's strengths and weaknesses are, which we still have been able to see if you look through the weeds. But, some people who don't practice and have critical thinking, especially some Bears fans that want to have more than knee-jerk reaction or just blame it on one thing, either want to blame it all on one thing of the offensive line or all on whatever, or all on Caleb Williams. And the truth of the matter is that it's a synergistic relationship at every level of your offense. You want your offense to be in rhythm. You want your offense to be in alignment, and the Bears just don't have that. We don't have that at all. It's not even a little bit, right? We have a problem at every facet of it. We have talent. Make no mistake about it. There's a lot of talent on this team, but you got to get it all on the same page. And yes, the offensive line needs to be adjusted. And I know, you have your Bears fans that say, oh my God, but this quarterback did it with not a great offensive line. And look at this offensive line objectively. Look at the way they take the, and this is what I try to do, right? Is that take the quarterback out of it, right? And just go and look at just the offensive line and what they're doing on possession. Just go and look at the offensive line on if they're winning their block rate, if they're not winning their block rate, how much are they allowing penetration. Look for that. Before we even look at the result, just look at that. And then you can also do the same thing with Caleb. Take away, don't look at the offensive line. Just look on his throws. Is he accurate? Is he not? Yes, Caleb Williams has had accuracy issues, which means if you can look at those things independently, and yes, they do affect each other in some ways, I'm not saying, and really take a deeper dive and an objective look rather than going in trying to place blame, And that's what we all have as sports fans, right? We all do that. It's not exclusively or calling anyone out. We all go in and we're like, I bet it's that damn Braxton Jones, or I bet it's that damn Caleb Williams not getting the ball away quick. And then we go in and we look at things to reaffirm it, right? You got to go in objectively and look at the things and then evaluate it based off that and then make your decisions going forward. And so I think as a whole, I know Thomas Brown said the confidence isn't shaking, but I'm sorry. If you look at Caleb Williams, he's definitely frustrated. But I do think that confidence is shaking a little bit. And I think Caleb Williams is at this point almost like terrified to throw an interception. And I don't know if he's trying to keep that lack of that interception rate down or the streak of not throwing an interception, whatever, going. But there is something to be said there where it feels like Caleb is he's and you don't want your quarterback playing scared. We knew that Caleb was a gunslinger, right, coming into this. And that's part of what has made him be successful in the times that he's been successful because, that's just part of it. You have to take the good with the bad with that. And if you can refine that over the course of a career, that's great, right? But Caleb's confidence is shaken. He's had his accuracy issues. He has this thing that he's holding back, and we're not holding back that he's fallen short of for sure. Those things have all been there, and the team is also fell behind in a lot of areas. So you got to get it together. Caleb Williams has to come along at some point, and it may not happen this season. There's 3 games left this season, but if Caleb Williams is going to be the quarterback that many people have him pegged to be long term, he's going to have to go in and he's going to have to honestly review and critique his game and honestly look at what he's done and where he fell short at. It's easy to point the finger, right? It's harder to look at yourself and be like, hey, this is what I did here. This is where I fell short. This is where I maybe let my team down. This is where I dropped the ball at. And we'll see if that comes along for Caleb and how that develops over time and the new coach and as we continue to refine the talent here with the offensive line. And one of the biggest things that I hate from really, to be quite honest, idiots in the comment section is that, and so, I'm not calling all, I'm just saying some of the idiots in the comment section, is that when they're like, oh my God, yes, but it's all Caleb. Why isn't it why don't you guys just blame Caleb? And it's like, because we watch football, and we watch football from all aspects, right? And in saying that this offensive line needs to be better, it's not saying that Caleb doesn't also need to be better, but it's saying that regardless of whatever happens, yes, both things can be true. And that's the thing. Like, the objectiveness gets taken away so often by people. Like, two things can be true, people. We don't have to argue. It's both things can be true. Caleb has to absolutely be better. And while I told you guys, go back and look, check the tape. That's one thing about doing a daily podcast. It's easy to go back and check. I was the one that kept telling everybody, don't believe don't make that generational label make you think that Caleb is going to come in here and not have a rookie season. Don't let that generational label that is really pushed forward by media, right, to have something in the way they want to market and talk about players, make you think that it's not going to be that Caleb Williams is not going to have to come in here and develop. And, so many people I've seen in the comment section like, yeah, you didn't expect Caleb Williams to have to come in here and we have to develop him. Are you stupid? Are you dumb? Are you stupid? Like, you didn't think that Caleb Williams was going to have to develop? You didn't think that a rookie quarterback was going to do any developing? You believe the hype that much. You have that lack of football IQ. And you let the media, what they're saying, you have that much lack of your own thinking that in watching and watching a player, looking at the tape themselves, if you looked at the tape of Caleb Williams and thought that Caleb wasn't going to have to do any developing at the NFL level, you're stupid. I'm sorry, you're stupid. It's just dumb, right? Yes, he needs to develop. Now, that is still not to say that some of the things that Caleb Williams is doing doesn't mean that we all expected that we would have to go through some of the limitations here on like the accuracy things down the field and things like that. But it is what it is. You have to develop quarterbacks. And as I said before, all this clamoring and everything else, Caleb's the guy. The Bears they invested in Caleb as the guy. And they're going to do that. And I'll say this, that's what they should do is drafting somebody number 1 overall. You should invest in that guy being the guy until he's either proven to you that he's just not. And, the people that say, well, he never won, he's never going to be a winner. Like I said before, so many nagging grown-ass men that just – here's the thing, and this is what I said this over on Bull Central. I'm going to bring it over here as well. If you wish that a player does bad just so you can be right about something, you're a fucking weirdo. You're just weird, right? If you have to actively wish bad upon somebody so you can be right in your take, you're strange. And you're peculiar is the thing that happens there. Get your life together. Don't wish bad about people. I want to see everybody on my team succeed. And whatever it needs to do to get there, that's what I want to see. And like I said, don't allow what the media and how the media labels people as generational make you think that it's going to be boom like this. Because we tried to tell you guys all offseason it wasn't going to be that. Now, we did think, and where I went wrong at is I thought that the talent overall in the team, and I said it before as well. Again, check the tape. I said that I did think that this team could contend for a playoff spot, not just because of Caleb Williams, because of the overall talent on this team. And I was wrong on that. The talent of the team looked at me and said, hey, Hayes, we got you. Hold our beer. And yeah, that's the part of being on this side of the camera. You're going to talk a lot, and a lot of those things are going to be proven. Yeah, you're gonna get caught up. So, it is what it is, and we'll see where the Bears develop. But one of the things that came out as well over the last couple of days was a rant from Chase Daniel. I actually got it. We're gonna go ahead and play it now.
I think it's more frustrating for Bears fans because you build this roster, you go all out, Ryan Poles does, building this roster around Caleb Williams. Mm-hmm. You re-sign DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. You sign DeAndre Swift. You sign Gerald Everett. You go out, you get Keenan Allen. Oh, by the way, this is the #1 scoring defense last year, the last 10 games of the year. And then all you need is that one piece for you to make a difference. Well, look at how the last 4 years have gone for the Chicago Bears offense. 2024, record 4-10. They're averaging 19 points a game. Pass yards per game, 181.9.
Terrible.
Just go look from 2021 to 2024. Just look at that. Is there any difference? It's all the same. The Bears have had 3 head coaches in 4 years, 7 different starting quarterbacks. So in 21, 22, and 23, you had Justin Fields, Nick Foles, Andy Dalton, Tyson Bagent, Nathan Peterman, Trevor Siemian, and then you think you're getting your generational player in 2024 in Caleb Williams, and you build your entire team around him? Acho, what's changed up there? In fact, some stuff's gotten worse from Justin Fields. And I would say they're a better team. So I don't think you can't look at this and say it's not the most frustrating and disappointing season in a long time, because the one thing that Caleb Williams, when he was drafted, gave the Bears fans was hope. Yep. And when you look at the graphic and you see it's the same exact thing for Bears fans.
And Chase Daniel putting up that how not really much has changed with the offense of the Bears over the last few years. And I get it. And I get what he's saying in that. And even in that rant, I don't think that he's necessarily saying, hey, yeah, Caleb sucks. No, I didn't think he's saying. I think he's saying, hey, something is going on here to where you can't just look at these quick fixes and thinking if you keep changing quarterbacks, it's all of a sudden going to change your direction unless you really invest in it and hold yourself to a higher level. And that's where the Bears have continually failed at. Holding ourselves to a level, or you can't even hold yourself, executing things at a level. And that comes back to Ryan Poles and what he does, and Kevin Warren, Ryan Poles, overall, the decision that need to be made here coming in. And when he said that they have had the number of starting quarterbacks that they've had over the time, and things have basically stayed the same when he listed that out, it's real, makes it real evident in just how the situation for the Bears, it sucks. And I love how he ended that, saying the one thing that drafting Caleb Williams brought kind of to a lot of Bears fans was, hey, now we got hope again. And that hope was quickly dashed after a 4-2 start. Everything came crumbling down after that, right? And that it's just crazy how much has changed for the Bears after that Washington Commanders game. And that Hail Mary. And, you can't I'm not blaming it on that. I'm just saying that we've been downhill since then. And things have just gotten worse. Things briefly look better for the offense, but they've gotten back worse. And now with Thomas Brown as the interim head coach and out of that booth. And so the Bears are really going to have to, and I said this in yesterday's episode, take a very hard look at themselves. The front office, the people running this team, and ask themselves how much is on them. And that gets us to our next topic today, is that it seemingly, and this comes from Brad Biggs, that Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles are having the right type of mindset on their place in this, saying this. But the impression I'm getting is that the Bears have been pretty forthright about shortcomings, I'm told, by sources outside of the building, that the team's top leadership, and this includes Warren and General Manager Ryan Poles, have been reflective and have communicated the right message. Now, that's a really good thing that you want to hear, right? And he also said this: I don't believe that candidates are going to have, I don't believe so, asking if the Bears situation is going to limit candidates wanting to come here. Are candidates going to have questions that they want answered in the process? Absolutely. But the impression I'm getting is that the Bears have been pretty forthright. That gets into what we said before. Does that mean that they will be in line to get their top choice? There's no way of telling that. But at least they've created a scenario where I believe the top candidates will be receptive to listening to the Bears pitch and hearing from them. And one thing that I love that puts into complete perspective is that this isn't a situation where head coach candidates are going to come in and I mean, they're going to have to pitch themselves and their ideals and what their plan to help elevate this Bears roster is going to be. But the Bears also have to pitch the head coaches on what this team is willing to do to get and correct this ship, where their part of the process went wrong at, right? And that shows a level of awareness that's needed if you truly want to be great. I said that about Caleb. The same thing is held true about your front office. If your front office isn't honest and they just look at it as, oh yeah, that was Matt Eberflus's fault, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to look at yourself. And that this conversation is mainly built around Ryan Poles. He does have to look at himself, and he has to figure out what is it that he needs to do, right, to get this thing back on the right path. And that's something that we'll see how that's going to develop for this team as well, right? But it seems like this team is, and that there is a synergy between Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren. I've seen your guys' comments. I've seen the people commenting like, oh my God, Kevin Warren's coming in and he's trying to step on the toes of Ryan Poles. He wants all the glory and it to be on him. There's been nothing Kevin Warren has done that streams, I want all the glory. It's at least not to me. It's been a lot of, because he is responsible for, I think people need to realize he's responsible for this. As the CEO, he is responsible for this. So yes, he does need to step in to a degree. He does need to step in. And again, like I said, at least oversee. Does he need to be the one that's leading the charge of the head coaching search? No. And Kevin Warren said that Ryan Poles will be the point man of that. Right? And that's what you need when it comes down to it. That's what should happen when it comes down to it, is this team should be able to get and to look at themselves and realize that where their place is in this Bears shit going left. And Ryan Poles has a very big place in that. In yesterday's episode, I talked about the draft picks that went wrong for Ryan Poles, right? When you look at the Velus Jones draft pick, that was a wrong decision by Ryan Poles. It was a wrong decision by Ryan Poles. Then you look at, you double down on that when you got offered a trade in training camp on camera during Hard Knocks and you turned it down. It was a bad evaluation. Zach Pickens was a bad evaluation by this team, really, when you look at it, especially when you look at who else got drafted around that time as well, right? So that's going to haunt him as well. Ryan Poles has made some big questionable decisions in this draft process. While he's made some good draft picks, there's been some questionable ones over that course of time period as well. And Ryan Poles got to look at himself and figure, all right, how do I get this right? What do I have to do here to make myself be better as the way I'm running this team and building this team? And that is on Ryan Poles. That is his job to do. But Kevin Warren has a job in this as well. And part of Kevin Warren's job is to oversee. Part of Kevin Warren's job is to see every aspect of this team through. So, and we'll see how this thing continues to develop. It's going to be a living conversation. It's going to be something that continues to go and ebbs and flows and all those type of things. It's not done, right? And you can't rest on any type. And the thing that needs to be more evident than anything throughout this is you can't rest on any type of momentary success until you're having the sustained success and you're actually winning something. And that's what it seemed like like Ryan Poles did, especially when he talked about the offensive line, right? And his confidence in the depth of the offensive line over the last from the offseason till now, right? And when he talked about that depth, Kieran Amagaje as well, when you look at some of the players that were still on the board when he was drafted, Ryan Poles got ahead of himself and he thought he did better than what he did. Now, it's time for that to come along and to get it together and to see what you can bring, see what you can develop, see what you can actually turn this team into, right? Now, with that said, before we go, we got one last thing to talk about. And this time, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN said he reached out to several people around the NFL, and they came away with one conclusion and said this: people I've talked to around the league fully expect the Bears to interview Kliff Kingsbury for the head coach job because of his combination of experience, quarterback cachet, and previous work with Caleb Williams. Now, I know that listen, I've said it before, and I'm going to be clear here. Right? I think I said this over on Bleacher Report. There is no cure-all for this Chicago Bears team. There's not a single coach, regardless if you believe the hype, how you view, Ben Johnson does not come in and single-handedly turn this team around. Mike Vrabel does not single-handedly come in and fix everything wrong with the Bears. Kliff Kingsbury does not come in and fix everything wrong with the Bears. There's no one cure-all as far as a head coach that has to be done. That's why I talked about the way that Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren need to hold themselves accountable as well for the place that this Bears team is in. You got to. And so there is no one thing that is just going to fix everything. That coach also has to pick the right staff. That staff, especially if you hire an offensive-minded coach, you got to find the right defensive coordinator to bring the most out of the defense. You hire a defensive-minded head coach, you got to trust them to go out and find the right offensive coordinator to manage this offense. It's not just a one solution to this team. It's just not. I would love to be able to say that this team is in a place where it's like, boom, we just get the coach, we're off to the races, we're a playoff team. But unfortunately, it's not that simple. And part of that is because of where this Bears franchise has been over the last few years and how the mistakes that they continually get made despite the faces changing for this team, the same mistakes seem to keep getting made. And as long as that keeps being the story, it's going to be more than just one thing to fix this shit for the Chicago Bears. Now, can the Bears do it? I trust that they can get a lot done this offseason, right? And maybe that's just me having a little bit too much hope, right? But until I see it, I'm also not going to believe that it's done, right? We still they can have one of the greatest off seasons on paper until it's on wax and we're winning football games because of where this last couple of seasons has gone for the Bears. I'm not believing anything until I'm seeing the wins on the football field. And I implore every Bears fan to hold that same accountability for this team. Personally, I hope that everyone does because it's a lot that needs to be fixed here. But we will see what's going to go on. We will see how this develops. And overall, we'll be here to covering it because that's what we do here, right? We're going to be here every day, every step of the way, the only 7-day-a-week Chicago Bears podcast and YouTube channel because we're posting every day, because we're processing every day. And let's hope that's the case. Like, when you look at it over the course of time, and Chase Daniel in his little stat brought that up as well, this Bears team, like, we need to hold ourselves more accountable for what we want this team to do, right? And I was a victim of that. I hold myself accountable to that, of allowing the excitement over this offseason to make me think this team was going to come in and things were going to be different. But until the end of the day, until it's done on wax, until it's done on the football field, until we got wins in the win column and we're in the playoffs, I ain't believing shit no more. Because that is the place that this team has continually put its fan base in, and that you can't believe nothing that you hear and see. I mean, well, you can believe it if you're seeing it, right? But you can't believe nothing that this team is on paper doing or telling you that they're trying to do. Until you actually see it, it doesn't matter, right? Until you're actually winning football games at a high level. Not to say that it all doesn't matter and to sound like the most pessimistic person in the world, but I've been here. I've gotten excited before. I want to see wins. Let's hope in 2025 we can talk more about wins than we ultimately got to do in 2024. But make sure you guys are following the channel at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you guys want to leave a voicemail and or a text message for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. And like I liked in every episode on Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.